All right, all right, all right, all right. Welcome to another edition of the Brian Turner Basketball Podcast. And we are on location at Cross Grand Studio with my partner, Chip Smith, man. And, man, he was gracious enough to let me come in the studio. Man, he has a great studio, photography studio, run it down, all the different things that you have going on here.
Photography, videography, any type of media for your websites or social media.
Man, this dude is cold, man. A curator in St. Louis, man, and he's doing big things on South Grand. So what he don't know is the way we came off and kind of bonded over this. I coach his son at St. Mary's High School. And from just the beginning of just him coming around, having his son at camps, being around the basketball community, man, I like being around good people. So I picked up off a great vibe from Chip. And before you know it, man, we just got putting our heads together on different ideas. And just so happens, man, he's running a studio here with so much great stuff. And I said, man, let me just pop in, man, we on spring break. Let me chop it up with him. And for the most part, man, he's helping me out so much with trying to get this whole media space thing going because, man, I'm just a basketball coach, man. I can put you on the line, show you how to shoot layups and finger rolls, but all this media stuff, man, I need some help with doing all of this. So I'm gonna introduce Chip, and then we're gonna kind of dive into what he has going on, his history, and what he don't know is I'm putting this up probably later on today, and it's gonna be an official podcast. So Chip Smith, sir. Man. So go ahead, just break it down, man. So tell me what inspired you to get to a situation where you doing photography and visuals and all type of media. What got you into this love in this space right here?
What got me into this space is actually I started off in music. And to be honest, I just love to create. And it came to a point to where you had to have visuals, and it was hard to get guys to do videos. So I picked up a camera maybe 10, 12 years ago, and it's been on ever since. I've always had a gift to see what people should look like, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. No. That's would you say that you are? I mean, I feel like you're an artist. And even though, we have a lot of people that are artists with the drawing, but a visual artist in a sense where, you may have an eye for certain things that where other people may not even know that you was going to make it look that great. Would you say that that's the case?
I definitely would say that I would consider myself an artist. I'm definitely an artist. Just put it like that. I consider myself an artist.
Right. And then even just with the whole the music background, I think a lot of times, man, we as creatives have to find different ways of getting our creativity out. A lot of times I tell people with basketball, man, basketball is a creative sport. You can look at 10 different people playing basketball and everybody have their own individual style, their own individual way that they do things and how they approach. And so we're just creatures of just expression just with a basketball. And so even though that, like I said, I'm a coach and I do things, but I always thought of myself as an artist, also an athletic artist. So what would you say about something like that? Did you ever think about something like that?
I definitely do, because I watch the game, I watch my son play, and I just still do not understand how you guys can see a play to see the whole court and just out there and be like, hey, if you do this, you do X, Y, and Z, this is going to happen. I still do not understand it.
Yeah,
one bit.
Yeah, no, because I always look at it's a quote that I'm always looking at, and I think I have it, or I had it at one point in time, either over my office wall, my dorm room wall, but it's like a Bruce Lee quote when they say it's just like something like creativity is like water. When you look at water, or even when you start seeing a lot of creative people, when they go through the creative process, they always go to like a beach or like an ocean, just so they can kind of look at that and get creative with just watching, the water flow or the ocean flow. And I think with basketball, it's just an expression, kind of just like that. It's a reason that they have laces on the ball, and we tell people to, try to get a backspin on it, because even that backspin, it starts the creative process of visualizing, like kind of like water, like just the rolling of the tides. And I know it may seem kind of off, but I look kind of deep into different things like that. But so just being creative. Let's talk about some of your inspirations. Growing up, did you have any inspiration or anything that kind of inspired you to say, man, let me try to get into this space, or anybody that you looked up to, as far as in the media world, or even just in the artistic world?
Well, since I jumped into the media world, the artistic world, from music, I'm not even gonna lie, my early influences were not, I'm gonna say great role models, but I was big into NWA, Ghetto Boys, just all UGK, all type of music, all type of rap. And once I figured out I had a way with word, I was always a creative type of writer. Once I figured out I had a way with words, and it would shock me that people be like, wow, that's so good. It would blow my mind, because I could sit there with a piece of paper and just come up with something out of thin air. And I think that's what pushed me to just keep going. I love to just grab stuff out of the air and make it become something. So I would say now my inspirations come from, one of the biggest inspirations is Jay-Z. I didn't used to like him at first when the Pac and Biggie thing was going. I was like, nah, I'm rolling with Pac. But once I start figuring out that this guy is thinking 20 years ahead of everybody else, it really inspired me. And that's kind of how I maneuver now. I'm thinking 2-3 years down the line. It might not seem like it all the time, but I'm playing chess.
Right. So, all right. So Jay-Z is what you said. You have influences back in the day, because I mean we're around the same age, and I think the music scene back, I say like early, because I started listening to music, and I probably shouldn't have, but like the Ghetto Boys and stuff, even the NWA days, when I was like 8 or 9, and you had to sneak around and listen to it and all that good stuff. So it's kind of like and I'm not ashamed to say it, but some stuff now that I'm kind of looking at, man, we have kids, and it's just like, man, what are we even thinking, even having kids even listening to that now? But we're around the same age and around the same eras. But one thing that I like to kind of express to a lot of folks, back then, creatively, it was so many different types of music creatively, from, even though it was rap, but it was all different types of, just different styles, I would say, and I guess people took pride back in the days of, I'm not gonna be like you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
exactly.
It was just kind of like, it was kind of shunned upon, even for you to even steal somebody's swag or even idea. So kind of talk about that just a little bit, because I know we diving into it, but I think this is a great conversation for people that's listening to just understand, man, being creative is just the essence of the things that we do, especially now, as far as and I think we can kind of appreciate it now, to where if you're doing something that separates yourself from somebody else, man, that's fly. That's dope. You know what I mean? So kind of talk about that a little bit.
Exactly. And we understand that, but today's youth kind of don't understand that, because I credit a lot of it to the internet by shrinking the world so everybody follows what's hot instead of making what's hot. I suffer from that, and it kind of hurt me when I'm trying to interact with the guys 20 years younger than me, per se. They like, nah, you got to do it like this. No, they doing it like that. You know what I'm saying? This is the way we're going to do it, and this is the way we're going to stand out. And I've always said that, like, I cannot, if I see somebody with the same shoes I have on, I'm going to take mine off. You know what I'm saying? I want something different. My stuff has to be different than everybody else, man. So I get exactly what you're saying, but I suffer from trying to be so individualized that sometimes I don't connect, but they'll get it later though.
No, I mean, I like to say, man, not being in the in crowd and not connecting sometimes, I mean, it separates you. And I think, like I said, more than ever, like that's the flyness that I think that people appreciate, just being an individual, not trying to, do everything that the group is doing. And I tell my kids a lot of time, even when we, and I like to bring it back to basketball, but separate yourself from everybody else, you know. And Coach Turner, what does that mean? That if you see that, okay, everybody else, soon as practice is over with, they the first ones to put their stuff on, they the first ones to get dressed, and then they leave out. You separate yourself by staying in the gym, you know, getting some extra shots up, you know, and even just kind of hanging around just a little bit longer, doing something that, man, maybe you missed a layup, or maybe you had a turnover early in practice, but going up against the wall and, you know, throwing the basketball up against the wall, working on that bounce pass or working on that chest pass, but being able to separate yourself. And I think some of the guys that are the greats, I think they have a way to separate themselves. And I tell people all of the time, and even with my social media posts and all the different things, man, try to be great. Try to be great at something that you're doing, you know. And you may not understand it right now, but if you had that mindset of being an individual, separating yourself from everybody else, and then striving to be great, man, you will end up landing in some great opportunities to where you may not even have seen yourself doing that type of stuff. But if you had that mentality for maybe like a 10-year span and started ingraining it in yourself, man, you'll come across some great opportunities in life. I mean, what do you say about that?
I definitely feel you on that. Even down to editing styles. When we put out maybe sports videos,
Talk about
it. I had the guys, they like, look, man, we got to use this song. We got to use these transitions. Then we're going to look just like the other guy. We cannot do that. I mean, you got to have your style on it, but even if we use the same tools, try to manipulate it differently. Yeah, that's the word, differently than the other guy. You have to put your mark on it. You have to find out who you are, not who they want you to be or what everybody deems to be cool. You got to find your cool, and you got to project that into the world. So that's what I think I stand for. That's what I push. That's what I strive. And those type of guys that I attract, if that makes sense.
No, you doing a great job. And I kind of want to just talk about that. So the video editing, because I mean, you see a lot of it, but then you also see that I mean, it's a nice niche that even kids right now, even if you're not playing basketball, you can also, or not just basketball, but any sports, you have a lane now that wasn't probably that existed maybe, and I'm gonna say even 5 to 6, 7 years ago. That, you know, like this whole space is kind of pretty much new. And so when did you started seeing the transition to everybody starting doing this, you know, the editing, getting involved in the sports? Because I always thought, you know, that it was like a music type thing. Because even when you think of like the Hype Williams, even back in our era, for folks who don't know who Hype Williams is, he was a producer or what would you call a director that he did all of the $1 million videos for the whole music industry.
Exactly.
And he was able to get to a point where his style influenced a lot of understudies to where it became the whole market of trying to have Hype William quality videos, to the point where, you know, a whole industry of videographers in the music industry started just popping up out of nowhere. And then everybody started moving down to Atlanta, being videographers for the rappers. So when did you start seeing the transition from the music scene to the sports scene? And kind of talk about that.
You know, my son Ethan, he watches YouTube like it's regular TV every morning, and he always have on hype videos. And I'm like, what is going on? And once I started really seeing what was going on, it's exactly what you're saying. It is a music video for high school athletes. That's exactly what it is. And I think, to be honest, it's wide open. It's wide open. It's not going to do nothing but get bigger and better. So I would say a couple years ago is when I really tuned into it. But recently, this last year or so, I hooked up with some guys, and they was like, Chip, man, trust me, this is a lane. And once I got into it, the same things apply as music. Is there a story there? And how can we make it look different? So I'm all in. I got big plans. My goal is to have these kids looking like their own already. To have them looking like their own, so it's easier for them to get into whatever college, or even if they decide to take the other route where they don't go straight to college, they go play overseas. Whatever they do, they're going to be marketable, and that's what I'm in. That's what I'm in it for.
Man, Cross Grand Studios. What's the official address for?
It is 3304 Merrimack Street.
Yep, right in the heart of South St. Louis, man. We like, man, 2 steps away from Ted Drew's, and it's about to get warm outside. It's about to start, you're gonna need all your outside pitches, man. You got to come to Cross Grand, man, and get the whole layout together, because I know you want the stories to be popping on Instagram. We want all of your likes up, your comments up. You got to come and get some professional style photos, man, and this the place to get it done. So
exactly, and I can't preach this enough I'm really doing it now to the high school athletes. If you are serious about your craft, a visual portfolio is almost like having your cleats or basketball shoes or jerseys. It is necessary, and you do not want. It's cool to do the phone and all of that, but if you are serious, come holler at Cross Grand.
Right.
Let us build your story.
Right, and even let's just talk about that, because man, we raw. So you look up at this, man. We 15 minutes in, and it's just like, man, it's dope, man.
I'm opening up.
Yeah, but let's talk about that, because and I want to kind of keep it in the lane of, again, this is Brian Turner Basketball Podcast, and we talk about a lot of different things basketball wise. But like I like to tell a lot of folks, even if you come play for me, you don't come play for me, it's one of those things where let basketball be a tool for you to prepare you to the next stage in your life. For those of us that are lucky enough to keep playing as long as we can, man, do it, because it's a fun game. I was able to travel the whole world just playing a game. And you look at people that have to punch that clock every day, work every day, 2, 3, third shifts, all of those different things. To be able to say that you playing a sport for a living, that's a great thing. But let it be a tool for you to get you in other places. And kind of speaking on what you're talking about, a visual portfolio, kind of talk about a player's image or a student athlete's image, and how, even I have these conversations in class where, go scrub your social media and make sure that, would you hire somebody? Would you give somebody a scholarship based off what they social media look like? Because whether if you want to know it or not, man, coaches look at that stuff. They follow you, they unfollow, like they do all of that stuff that you don't think that they doing, but that's a big piece in whether or not you'll get recruited or not. So kind of speak to that as far as the image of a student athlete right now today.
The image of a student athlete, it doesn't necessarily have to be squeaky clean. It does, but
it just be authentic.
It has to be authentic. It has to be you, and it has to, because there's so many of y'all. It has to stand out. You have to align yourself with certain people that's going to tell your story and can align you with the brands. Like what are you into besides once you put down the basketball? What are you into? Do you like to make clothes? Do you like to fix on cars? Like, none of that stuff is wrong. So people have to know who you are. Even when they see you, they know you play basketball, but who are you? Mm-hmm. We live in that world where reality TV runs everything. Your life. If your life almost has to be on display.
Yeah, no doubt.
It has to be on display. If I was, and then think about what COVID did. People are not coming out to these schools no more. You have to send these people this stuff. You have to constantly have someone around you with a camera filming. Unfortunately, I can't be there every day to come get it, but you got to take the LeBron effect, maybe the Tatum effect. Get your close homies. Everybody might not hoop. But your homeboy, hey, he good with the camera. Kick him a little something a week. Send him out.
But we want you to come to Cross Grand.
Yeah, we definitely want you to come to Cross Grand. Even if I'm gonna put it like this: even if whoever you got around you is filming you and they don't know how to edit, you can bring that to Cross Grand, and we can put it together. We can get your interview together. We can get you some nice photos that let people know that this is who this kid is. This is who this kid is, and trust me, visual portfolio is where it's at.
Right. And I like to tell people to be visible at like the LinkedIn level. So even if you go online and you see, like what you just said, people should be able to see what you do based off what your online image is. And you can't sit up here and tell me that you're a basketball player, basketball coach, football player, and we never see you doing that type of stuff. That's one thing. You a basketball player, got all this stuff basketball, but when we look at your online presence, you rapping. You doing stuff, you doing this and you doing that. It's not pertaining to what your online image is. And like you said, we're living in a world like right now where things got smaller, things shrunk. Man, people are able to reach you and touch you based on what they're able to see online. And you have to get with the program. You don't want to be around here sitting like a dinosaur and being the grumpy old person talking about, man, I can't use that and a phone. I ain't got a phone. And man, you better get with the times, because if you don't, man, technology will pass you up and you will be sitting around looking like, where did the time go? You know?
Exactly, man. And you have to get, hopefully the schools will open up and start teaching about NFTs and start teaching about all these, all your digital imprint. Maybe their courses will start popping up, and you will realize how vital everything you put on this social media is to you, because the cloud does not leave. I don't care how many times you delete it, it's not gone. It's still there. It is still there. So everything you put up needs to be quality, and it needs to be about what you are trying to do. I mean, if you really trying to rap and you play basketball on the side, then show your rap stuff. But if you playing basketball, football, soccer, baseball, that's what you need to be pushing. I mean, pushing it 100%.
No, that's real talk, man. So if you don't get nothing else from this episode, from this interview, from this podcast, man, just understand that, like, you know, I know we talking about, you know, the media side, the image side, the online side, but you have to make sure that, like, everything lines up. You have to make sure that that you're at least spending time doing this stuff, because what you don't realize, it's an investment, especially in the college. Like, these people's livelihood is on the line, and they're not finna invest in some foolishness. You know what I mean? Like, we're right now involved in March Madness, and this is like the time of the year where, you know, it can make or break you. I did a interview last night with one of my close friends, and we just talked about the time that March is more like, you know, people always say January is the beginning of the new year. To me, spring is the beginning of the new year, because now everything is about to spring out in the open. Whatever you've been reaping for the winter, you're going to have the benefits of that harvest about to come from you just getting all of your stuff together. And now we in springtime to where things can open up. But the NCAA tournament, we have coaches that worked hard, worked their butt off all year. They win a game in the NCAA tournament. That may be a paycheck for you, maybe not at that school, but somebody's going to look at that and say, man, he did what he was able to do with that team. Oh, we got to have him over here, you know? And so these people livelihoods are at stake. They're not going to have foolishness around a program. They're not going to have foolishness coming in a circle, because people are trying to move on, and people are trying to get, you know, they're trying to have their next generation reap the benefits of the hard work that they put in, you know? Well, I mean, what do you think about that?
I definitely agree with you. And the more you're going to see is systems are in place. And I mean, it's cool to rebel and do all of that, but if you're trying to get into a certain place, there's certain rules you got to follow. It's certain guidelines that are set out there, and they're not going to be bent just for you. I hate to say it, it's a million to use. I mean, even though you individual, but it's a lot of, how can I put it like this? It's a lot of people that think the same way and do the same thing that you are doing. They might just go at it a little harder. Right. And you do not want to be the one that's lacking and sleeping and just not on it, man. And I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
When you was talking about the colleges looking at these kids, I want to know more about this transfer portal. Does that pertain to basketball?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's all across the board. So what you started to see, and it's always been in existence, because I mean, we come back to where we talk about March Madness, to where, let's say, I think Coach Holloway, they St. Peter's beat number 15 seed, beat Kentucky, the number 2 seed in the tournament. Okay, the coach that's at the small school, St. Peter's, beat John Calipari, who's probably making about $5 to $7 million a year. Okay, coaching basketball. All right, he has one of the premier programs in the country, Kentucky. Okay, St. Peter's, you know, probably on a shoestring budget, was able to knock off the Goliath. All right, so David versus Goliath, he's able to knock off the Goliath. In the past, what would tend to happen, and this happened with me in my college days, the big schools, the power schools, would take that small coach and basically get him at a bargain and say, all right, Holloway, the coach at St. Peter's, man, he just done that with that team. All right, let's get him at Michigan. Let's get him at Mizzou. Let's get him at the next big school. So what you will have with is programs that all of a sudden their coach is up and leaving. Now, he didn't recruited all of these kids, from, let's just say, East St. Louis and South St. Louis. So he got all these kids coming to his program. Now he leaves and takes a job at Mizzou or Kansas, a big school, okay? Those kids that got recruited by that coach in the past wasn't able to leave out of that binding contract from them signing to commit to play for that coach, okay? That coach can leave, take the next job, get paid. No ramifications, nothing. He has to do what's best for his family and his business, all right, or for himself. So now what the NCAA has done is that, okay, they know that this stuff comes up every year in March. Big school takes the young upstart coach, moves to another school. So now they're allowing the players to, all right, I had a bad year. I didn't like playing for this coach. I want to leave and transfer. In the past, they would have to sit out a whole year to be able to be eligible that next year. Now, the transfer portal is saying, okay, you can leave and transfer and be eligible the next year to play for this team. So you start to see a lot of kids, which, in my opinion, I'm kind of on the fence with this. I was always in favor of, if a coach left, for whatever reason, that kid should be able to leave to pursue other options, just like that coach was able to pursue other options. Now, you get in a situation where you don't go through any type of adversity that first year. So when I was in high school, I had to go to junior college. I played 2 years at a Division I school, played in the NCAA tournament, but it was guys on my team that redshirted their first year to be able to have 4 years to play. And that's really not a thing now. You tell a kid to come in redshirt, they're going to look at you crazy and be like, I'm up. I'm getting up out of here. I'm going to go somewhere and play. Not knowing that you're going to need that first year to get stronger, to know the plays, to work on living life like a college student, to where, man, this is your whole life. Some people are not able to deal with this, So the transfer portal is put in place to help the player, but it's enabling the player to not go through any type of adversity. So anytime that, you have to come sit down, you play 10 minutes a game, 8 minutes a game, now you upset, you want to leave. So that's my opinion in that. Will it change? I think they're gonna have to make some type of changes down, because I think now you can only transfer once, and then that rule is in place. So if you transfer more than once, then you still have to sit out. But now they had this what they call the COVID year, to where everybody's getting another year to play. Wow. So it's like one of those things where, you transfer to come in to play for a coach, and he gets all his whole team back for 1 year, because technically last year didn't count.
So let me ask you this.
We good. No, we good.
So does that help her high school kids? Because if I got a college team, I would rather just look at other teams, college teams, and be like, why don't you transfer to my school instead of getting
that's exactly what's going on and what's happening. And I think you're not going to really see the effects of this until probably 10 years from now, when it's kind of top heavy. And I think even the upsets in the NCAA tournament, I had a chance to look at St. Peter's. I haven't had a chance to look at their record. Their roster, to see how many kids on there are like fifth year seniors, because Kentucky's going to get the one and dones pretty much every year. And even these kids that came to Kentucky to play, they're going to probably leave and test the waters to see
where they can get some money.
Yeah, because, you think coming out of high school, if you was able to get a scholarship to go to Kentucky, you probably one of the top 100 players in the country. So It's a job for you out there somewhere, But, yeah, that's just one of those things where, it's just, if I'm a coach, I'm going to get the 23-year-old senior that's been through college, that's a grown man, as opposed to trying to get an 18-year-old who just got his license, or dealing with something like that. You know what I mean? But so those things, I feel like that hurts the high school players. Yeah, I think that hurts the high school players, but it's they're going to have to try to find a way to kind of figure this out, down the line. But Nah, man, this is some good stuff right here. This is a great conversation, and like I said, man, we started talking about technology. I came through Cross Grand on MERAMEC to talk some technology, and man, this in turned into a full-fledged episode. But man, I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you, man. Your graciousness, man. Letting me come in and do a recording. Let me come in and kind of pick your brain a little bit. So I'm gonna give you some dap on that, man. I appreciate you.
All right.
All right.